My little sister just turned 29. Not married, no kids, and she gets asked about it at literally every family gathering.
The classic holiday dinner interrogation.
Every single time. So, any boyfriend news?
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about why young Americans are actually delaying marriage and kids in 2026.
And spoiler, it's not as simple as kids these days don't want commitment.
Median age for first marriage is now 30 for men, 28 for women. Back in 1970, it was 23 and 21.
Almost a decade later than our grandparents' generation.
And 1 in 4 adults aged 40 to 44 has never been married. 4 decades ago, that was under 1 in 10.
That's basically my sister's whole friend group. Half of them aren't married, and none of them seem panicked about it.
Birth rates hit a record low too, about 1.6 children per woman, well under the 2.1 needed to keep the population stable.
Fewer than 3.7 million babies born last year, lowest in decades.
So it's not just getting married later, people are having noticeably fewer kids overall too.
Okay, but here's my first real question. Is this actually about not wanting marriage or just not being ready for it yet?
That's the interesting part. Almost all of it is delay, not rejection. 93% of adults under 35 are either married or open to marriage.
So barely anyone is actually anti-marriage.
Right. People still want it. They're just pushing the timeline back, sometimes way back.
Kind of how you keep saying you'll finally fix your car next month.
That's different.
Is it, though?
Fine. Maybe there's a parallel. Delay isn't the same as never.
There's a generational split in expectations, too. Cohabiting before marriage has basically become the new normal step.
59% of Gen Z say living together first is essential, compared to only 41% of millennials at the same age.
So marriage isn't disappearing, it's just moved further down the sequence of steps.
Stick with us. Next, we're getting into why the shift actually happened, starting with how people think about marriage itself.
Let's dig into that mindset shift because it's genuinely fascinating.
There's a term researchers use, marriage as a capstone versus a cornerstone.
Break that down for people who haven't heard it.
It means cornerstone, marriage comes first, then you build your adult life together. That was the old model.
Adding, capstone means you build the life first. Career, stability, identity, and marriage is the finishing piece on top.
Get your ducks in a row, then get married once everything else is already sorted.
That's honestly how I think about it now, if I'm being fully honest.
Really? You'd want everything settled first?
I don't want to build a life with someone while I'm still figuring out who I even am.
See, I actually think that's part of the problem, not a solution.
Wait, here we go.
Waiting until everything feels perfectly ready means you might wait forever. Life never fully settles.
I disagree. Rushing into marriage before you know yourself is exactly how you end up divorced at 35.
Okay, that's actually backed up by real data, though, in a weird way.
How so?
Millennials who do marry now have the lowest divorce rate of any generation tracked, around 5%.
So waiting longer might actually be producing more stable marriages.
All right, I'll admit that's a point in your favor.
I'll take it.
I still think some people wait so long chasing readiness that they miss windows they didn't realize mattered, like having kids while it's biologically easier.
That part I actually agree with. There's a real tension between emotional readiness and biological timing.
So we both win a little.
Don't get used to it. I've got more to disagree about later.
On the cohabiting piece, it's really replaced marriage as the actual first step for most couples now.
Which makes sense with the capstone idea. Move in together to test the life, marry once you're sure.
Next, let's get into the actual human stories, because the stats tell half of it.
Okay, real stories. Let's start with your cousin, since I know you've got one.
32, together with his girlfriend for 6 years, still not married.
Any specific reason or just drifting?
He says they're basically married in every way that matters, just without the paperwork or the expensive wedding.
That tracks with everything we just covered. Cornerstone habits, capstone timeline.
His girlfriend actually wants the wedding eventually. He's more indifferent about it.
So he's just coasting on her patience.
Basically, yeah. I've told him that too.
I've got one that's more about kids specifically. My coworker, married 5 years, keeps pushing back someday.
What's actually behind that?
She says every time they feel financially ready, something else comes up. Rent goes up, car breaks down, plans shift again.
That's the "I don't have enough saved" reason showing up in real life. Over half of people cite that exact thing.
And she's not being dramatic about it either. The math genuinely doesn't feel comfortable to her yet.
I've got a different kind of story, too. A friend who's 34, single, actively looking, just doesn't found the right person.
Which lines up with that finding, too. Most singles say the real barrier is finding the right person, not money or readiness.
He's been on more first dates than I can count. Says something's usually off within the first hour.
Sounds exhausting. Almost as exhausting as watching you attempt to plan a single date night for yourself.
Low blow, but fair. I really am bad at that.
So here's where we land for today. It's not one single reason. It's timing, mindset, money, and honestly, sometimes just not meeting the right person yet.
Next part, we're getting into money versus love versus the dating apps themselves, because that's where the real debate starts.
Thanks for sticking with us through this first part.
See you in the next one.
Let's start with the money side, since that's the one everyone assumes is the whole story.
60% of adults say they don't have enough money saved to have kids. That's the single biggest reason cited.
51% want a higher salary first. 47% want to travel more before settling down.
My coworker from part 1, the someday story, she said it plainly. Every time they get close to ready, something else gets more expensive.
And there's real research behind that feeling, too. The Fed has actually linked higher mortgage rates directly to lower birth rates.
So the connection isn't just a vibe, it's measurable.
Home ownership used to come before family formation for most people. That sequence has genuinely broken down.
Share of 25 to 34-year-olds living with parents hit historic highs, and it hasn't fully dropped back since.
I know a couple, both working full-time, still living with his parents at 27 and 26.
By choice or necessity?
Necessity. Saving for a down payment while paying rent felt impossible, so they just didn't pay rent at all for a while.
Smart move financially, but it delays everything that traditionally came after moving out.
Hard to plan a wedding or a nursery in your childhood bedroom.
Kind of like how you still keep half your stuff at your parents' place.
That is completely different, and you know it.
Sure it is.
Adding, credit card debt's part of this too. Record highs, over $1 trillion nationally.
60% of people living paycheck to paycheck, even with steady jobs.
So it's not laziness or bad budgeting for most people. It's genuinely a math problem.
Next, let's get into the dating side of this, because money isn't the only barrier people are running into. Let's talk dating apps, because the numbers here are honestly wild.
56% of Gen Z adults 18 to 29 are single. Highest rate ever recorded for that age group.
And about half of those single people aren't even actively looking.
So it's not just can't find anyone. A lot of people have genuinely stepped back from trying.
58% of Gen Z users say they feel more pessimistic about love after using dating apps.
And here's the wild part. Despite all that swiping, only 11% of couples actually met through an app.
Wait, that's tiny. All that time spent, and most people still meet through friends, school, or work?
Which is honestly why there's a whole shift back toward in-person meetups and singles events this year.
My sister joined one of those run clubs specifically because half the group is single and it's not explicitly a dating thing.
The classic, totally not looking for anyone, run club.
She'd deny it, but yeah.
There's also just less dating happening overall among younger people. Less sex, too, actually, compared to the same age group decades ago.
Roughly half as often for 18 to 25-year-olds compared to that same age group back in 1990.
That's a pretty dramatic shift in a few decades.
Some of it's caution, some of it's just less social opportunity, some of it's genuine app fatigue.
It's not one clean explanation. It's a bunch of smaller shifts stacking on top of each other.
Next, let's actually debate this. Which one's really driving the delay, the money or the dating itself?
Oh, I've got opinions.
All right, let's hear it. Money or dating culture? Which one's the bigger driver?
Dating, honestly. I think if people found the right person easily, they'd figure the money out somehow.
I actually think that's backwards. Money is the more measurable, more universal barrier.
Curious. Why do you say that?
Because even people who do find the right person are still delaying because of housing costs and debt. That part shows up regardless of relationship status.
Fair point. My coworker and her husband found each other years ago, and money's still the holdup.
Exactly. The dating struggle mostly affects whether marriage happens at all. Money affects timing even after you found someone.
But then explain the fact that finding the right person is actually the number one cited reason for staying single, ahead of money.
Okay, that's a real point in your favor. I forgot that stat cuts against me a bit.
I'll take the win.
I still think they're tangled together more than people admit, though. Financial stress makes dating harder, too. Nobody feels their best self while stressed about rent.
That I actually agree with completely. It's not really one or the other.
So maybe the real answer is money delays the marriages that are ready to happen, and the dating culture delays the relationships from forming in the first place.
Two different bottlenecks hitting people at two different stages.
Look at us, actually landing on a real answer instead of just arguing forever.
Don't worry, I've got more disagreements loaded for later.
Wouldn't expect anything less.
Today's takeaway. It's genuinely both. Money slows down people who've already found their person. Dating culture slows down whether people find that person at all.
Next part, we're getting into the ripple effects, living with parents, the gender gap and wanting kids, and what this actually means for the country.
Thanks for sticking with us through the debate.
See you in the next part.
Let's talk ripple effects now, starting with living arrangements since we touched on that already.
Share of 18 to 29-year-olds living with parents peaked at 52% a few years back, and it's still elevated now.
Over half. That's genuinely a majority at some point.
Highest level since the Great Depression era, according to some of that research.
My younger cousin moved back home at 24 after his lease ended. 2 years later, still there.
Embarrassed about it?
Actually, not much anymore. Says half his friend group is in the same boat, so it doesn't feel like a personal failure.
That normalization matters. It's genuinely different from one person struggling alone.
It delays everything downstream, too, though. Hard to bring someone home to meet the family when home is still your childhood bedroom.
Also hard to have any actual privacy for dating.
That is very true and very awkward.
Agreed. It pushes back the whole sequence. Independent living used to come before marriage. Now it's often stalled behind it.
So even people who do find the right person and feel financially okay can still be stuck waiting on basic independence first.
There is a flip side worth naming, though. A lot of these arrangements are actually working out well financially.
How so?
Saving on rent for a couple of years can genuinely fast-track a down payment that would have taken twice as long otherwise.
So it's not purely a setback. For some people, it's a strategic move.
Next, let's get into something that surprised me the most in all this research, the gender gap in actually wanting kids.
Okay, the gender gap. This one genuinely surprised me too.
Only 45% of childless women 18 to 34 say they still want kids. For men in that same group, it's 57%.
So more young men want kids right now than young women do. That flips a lot of old assumptions.
It's a fairly new split. Wasn't nearly this wide a generation ago.
My younger cousin actually relate to this a bit, if I'm honest. I used to assume I'd want kids by default. Now I genuinely don't know.
What changed for you?
Seeing how much career and identity get put on hold, mostly for women specifically, even in supposedly equal households.
That tracks with a lot of the research. Career interruption still falls disproportionately on women in most families.
Plus, the sheer cost and workload of parenting these days feels heavier than what I saw growing up.
I think part of it's also messaging, though. Women get a lot more content telling them parenting is a sacrifice or a burden than men do.
Are you saying the gap is partly manufactured by online content?
Partly, yeah. Not saying the real struggles aren't real, just that the messaging skews differently by gender.
That's actually a fair point. I do see way more parenting drained me content aimed at moms than dads.
Agreed. Doesn't erase the real structural issues, just adds another layer on top.
There's also just more visible alternatives now. Careers, travel, independence as a genuinely fulfilling path without kids.
Which wasn't really presented as equally valid a generation or two ago.
So it's not that women suddenly dislike kids, it's that the alternative paths finally feel visible and acceptable.
Next, let's zoom out to what this all actually means for the country economically.
You're right.
Let's zoom out. What does a falling birth rate actually mean beyond individual choices?
Fewer workers paying into programs like Social Security down the line, supporting a growing retired population.
The math gets tighter every year the birth rate stays below that 2.1 replacement level.
And fewer young workers, more retirees. That ratio matters a lot for how those systems stay funded.
My uncle actually brings this up constantly at dinners, half joking, half not, about who's going to pay for his retirement.
The guilt trip disguised as a demographic lecture.
Exactly that.
There's a slower economic growth angle, too. Fewer new households forming means less demand for housing, furniture, everything tied to starting a family.
Nodding as some economic believers genuinely worry about a shrinking population drag on long-term growth.
I think that narrative gets overblown sometimes, though.
How so?
Countries have adapted to shifting demographics before. Immigration, automation, longer working lives can all offset some of this.
That's fair. It's a real pressure, not necessarily an unsolvable crisis.
Agreed, which is honestly a good bridge into our next part. Is this actually a crisis or just a different, valid version of normal?
That's the exact debate we're saving for the finale.
To the audience. So today's takeaway, delayed family formation ripples outward into housing, gender dynamics, and the whole economy, not just individual timelines.
Next part, we wrap the whole series with the big question. Is this a crisis or just change?
Thanks for sticking with us through this one.
See you in the final part.
Final part of this series, the big question. Is this actually a crisis?
Let's make the case for yes, this is genuinely concerning first.
Birth rate at 1.6, well below replacement. That's not a small dip. That's a structural shift.
Fewer workers supporting more retirees down the line. We covered that math in part 3.
My uncle's dinner table guilt trips aside, that funding gap is a real, measurable problem.
And there's a loneliness angle, too. 56% of young adults single, half not even looking.
If people genuinely want connection and can't find it, that's not just a demographic stat. That's real unmet need.
Combine that with delayed independence, and you get a generation stalled on multiple fronts at once.
I think crisis is actually the right word here. When something's structurally broken, we should call it that.
I get the case. I'm not fully there myself, but I get why people land on that word.
All right, let's hear your side then.
Let's make the other case, that this is actually healthier change, not collapse.
You are right.
Okay, here's my actual case. Millennials who do marry now have the lowest divorce rate ever tracked, around 5%.
We mentioned that back in part 1.
Worth repeating here specifically, waiting longer is producing more stable marriages, not fewer good ones.
That's a genuinely strong point for your side.
And 93% of adults under 35 are still open to marriage. This isn't an anti-marriage generation at all.
Right, we established that too. It's delay, not rejection.
People are also just more intentional about dating now. 72% of Gen Z women actively prefer slower, more intentional dating over the old hookup culture default.
Which lines up with the shift back toward in-person meetups we talked about in part 2.
So instead of rushing into whatever relationship's available, more people are actually waiting for the right fit.
I still think healthier undersells how much of this delay is forced, not chosen, though.
Fair. Some of it's genuine preference, some of it's people making the best of a genuinely harder economic situation.
That distinction matters. Not every delay is a healthy choice. Some of it's just survival.
That's a fair correction to my framing, honestly.
See? We're both right in pieces again.
Story of this whole series.
Let's actually land somewhere for our closing thoughts. All right, 4 parts, a lot of debate. Let's actually close this out honestly.
It's not one clean story. It's money, dating culture, mindset shifts, and gender dynamics all tangled together.
People still want marriage and kids, mostly. 93% open to marriage. That's not a generation rejecting the idea.
They're just navigating real barriers, some financial, some emotional, some just circumstantial.
I think my honest landing spot is it's both, genuinely. Some delay is healthy and intentional. Some is just people getting squeezed.
I actually land in the same place, even though I started this episode leaning more, it's fine, just change.
Look at that. Real growth from you this series.
Don't make it weird.
Personal. My sister, from the very start of this series, by the way, just got engaged.
Wait, really? When?
Last week. 6 years together, finally felt ready on their own timeline, not anyone else's.
That's honestly a perfect way to close this whole thing out.
Agreed. Not because she was behind, because the timeline that actually fit her life took this long, and that's okay.
So, wherever you are in this, married already, waiting, still looking, not sure you even want it, there's no single right timeline anymore.
Thank you for sticking with us through this whole series. It's been a genuinely fun one to argue through.
Fun is one word for it.
If this resonated with you, share it with someone going through their own version of this timeline pressure.
We'll see you in the next one. Take care and go at your own pace.